was that they were doing their due diligence to say that, look, we didn't wash anybody out. We concentrated on a wide swath of people. That defense can't come in later if you arrest somebody else to say that, hey, you only focused on my client. And they just wanted to eliminate that vector of this whole thing so that they could move on. But I'm past that now. You have to be past that. They've returned now, according to the reporting, which we heard from the scene from Alicia. They have gloves on. They're going in with what sounds like evidence bags to me. And so at this point, unfortunately, you have to say it's not this positive, but you have to say they are at least still within the frame. Any other conclusion there kind of defies logic because they're not going to use that location, just to be clear here, to hang out in. You know, that's not become a base where they can get lunch and, you know, use as a center of operations. It is potentially at some point really relevant to the investigation. So,
and I believe the sheriff know that Annie, that's why they keep going back there. They know that that's where the crime scene is. Nancy, only crime scene that's there is burglary. Right? What's up, IB Bodie? Yeah, got him scared because the reason why they keep going back to Annie's house, because when all the dust settles, when everybody sits back and weigh out the whole case in totality, everything starts there and ends there. Everything from she went over there, that was the last people to see her alive. And then the husband claims he gave her a ride home and dropped her off, which was unverified. Let's be clear, that was an unverified piece of information. So the whole case starts and begins in Annie's house. See, the Nancy house, that's just bait, right? That's just bait. The longer they stay at Nancy's house, the longer they will stay in the blind, because the only crime that was committed there was probably burglary. That's it. They went in and burglarized it, whatever they were looking for, plant evidence. They played a faulty sign, a crime scene, right? This is a complete buffoonery of the United States Police Department, because Nancy house is just they've been trapped there for like 12 days trying to figure out, running in circles, trying to figure out how did they get her out of there? How did they get her from the house, Nancy's house, to the car, and no camera, neighbor's camera, house camera, no, none picked it up. So that's the question that law enforcement is struggling with. It's just impossible for you to carry a lady out that home and nobody, the neighbor's cameras, nobody seen a car, nobody seen a truck, any form of transportation, or right? I'm sure that ain't nobody gonna carry no body up the street. Come on. So that's the question that they can't answer right now. How did these people kidnap Annie without a trace? But the real answer lies in Annie's house, because that's where the crime started, and she was transported probably who knows where. You might as well shut. This is my theory. This is my theory. This is what I would do. I would shut everything down, but because this is the only way they're going to crack this case. It's going to be on technology level. They got to follow the money. Follow the money, or either follow the money or take Annie her husband and put them in them rooms and interrogate the hell out of them. There's only two ways this case is going to get caught. The only way this case is going to get cracked. They should arrest Annie. Oh, no, you got to arrest her. Just have her come down for questioning. And her husband said, hey, we like you too. To come down. We have some questions for you guys. They're sure they're going to volunteer. They're going to do it. Oh, sure, no problem. Because they don't want to seem like they have nothing to hide. And I will put Annie in one room. And I will put her husband in another room. And I will start from that night when they had, last night they had the dinner or the sit over with Nancy. That's the only way you're going to crack this case. And all this running around, talking about you finding gloves, with DNA on them. This little picture, you got some guy mess with the camera. That's not gonna get you nothing. That ain't nothing. Because what it is they're coming up against, what they're coming up against is a $32 billion machine. This is not a kidnapping, gentlemen. This is not a kidnapping. This is a murder for hire case. See, they made the same mistake in the OJ case. They made the same mistake in the OJ case, right? They stood in one place, they planted, oh, we found DNA, this. They prosecuted the OJ case wrong. All they had to do, the OJ case was a murder for hire case. It was not, OJ didn't technically physically murder them people. He hired somebody to come in and do this. Now, have they slowed down, right? And understood that this was a murder for hire case, they would have not had to plant evidence. They wouldn't have to do all that. They rushed to judgment. And this is what law enforcement, a lot of them rush to judgment and try to make something out of nothing by planting shit, accusing people. And then they went after OJ. And what happened? OJ had connections. OJ had the motherfucking dream team, nigga. They had a dream team. And the dream team shut all that shit down, all them false allegations down. So they should learn from that. They're making the same mistake they made in the OJ case in the Nancy Guthrie case. They're moving too fast. You have to slow the case down. They got to slow down and go all the way back from the beginning. The sheriff is protecting Annie, man, and her husband. Because if I figured out that Nancy never made it back in that house, the sheriff know it too. So if they slow this case down and go all the way back from the very beginning, everything will lead you back to Annie and her husband. That's why they keep going back to the house. Because they said it has to be there. It has to be there. The case is there. That is where the case starts, in my opinion. And the sooner you guys figure that out, the more better you guys are going to figure things and get things together. And then you will figure out that you're not fighting against some kidnappers. You're fighting against a $32 billion organization. Yes, the pharmaceutical company. This was a murder for hire case. And this is why they keep They keep chasing the tail. The letters, all deflection. All them ransom notes, deflection. So you're chasing kidnappers when you should be chasing murderers. Simple. You got to figure out this. This is follow the money case. Everything's about the money. Any of them got paid a certain amount of money, are going to get paid a certain amount of money for their services. And some who hired these hitmen. Who's hired these hitmen to come in and do this? That's where your case is. That's where your foundation piece is. Annie and her husband is the key to cracking this case. Because 100%, I guarantee that the husband did not drop Nancy off of that house. 100%. And the moment they figure that out, then they be heading the right direction. Then they'll start uncovering more stuff. But as long as they keep chasing these ransom notes, these gloves, this guy who's messing with the camera, they're not going to get anywhere. They're not going to get anywhere. And then as soon as you find something, you put it on the TV. Oh, we found a glove. You don't think, come on. You've been in the house for 12 days. And you just now found a glove with DNA on it in the area. They're sending you guys on a wild goose chase. All you guys, all the law enforcement doing is chasing their tail. They're chasing some kidnappers. They're trying to find Annie. They're trying to find Nancy. And she's probably in the ground somewhere through. It's a pretty simple case, but I guess it's complex because you got too many chiefs and not enough Indians.
The fact that they're returning under those conditions that we heard described, you have to say it imparts the idea that they are continuing to investigate that couple at that location.
Yeah, there's the man leaving the house with a couple of bags just moments ago, and his partner, investigative partner, has the latex gloves on, the blue gloves that you can see as he holds the door for him, as he put those two bags in the back seat. Trace, this is going on at the same time as they have been looking in the Catalina foothills. The video that I saw, they don't seem to be, sort of honing in on any one particular spot. And as Alicia points out, this is the area that the house is in, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Catalina foothills, this is kind of the base of it.
This is Annie's house. This is Annie and her husband's house. This is where it all began. This is where they need to set up shop. This is where it's at. They don't need to go back to Nancy's house. That's done. They shut that crime scene down. That's done. Ain't nothing there. But whatever you got out there, that's it. I know that. That's it. You need to go back, set up and post up at Annie at her house, and you got to bring them in, which they probably eventually will. They might have looked at my live stream yesterday. They're going to have to bring them in for questioning. Because Annie knows all the answers. I don't know about her husband. Husband might know some things, but Annie, Savannah know too, but you're not going to be able to get Savannah down for questioning because she's kind of in the sky. But Annie, get her in that interrogation room. And all you have to do is pretend you had a witness that scene. So we have a fake witness saying that they noticed that when her husband came to the house, Nancy did not get out that car. And I guarantee you start to get nervous and start to panic. That's where it's at. Annie and her husband know exactly who came and got Nancy, but where they took him, they don't know. But it would give you at least a solid conspiracy, now you can start breaking shit down and going in the right direction. But in my opinion, in my theory, this is a money crime. This is a murder for hire. This is not a kidnapping. This was not a kidnapping. And this is probably involving between 6 to 12 people. Yeah, these were professionals. These people come in and clean shit up. Yeah, they come and take people out and clean shit up. The letters, all the ransom letters, the letters of TMZ, that's all them. Yeah. And their boss is the $32 billion machine, pharmaceutical. So what's the next step? The next step is they need to get out Nancy's house. That's what they need to stop doing, because there's nothing there. Everything is done there. The neighbors ain't got nothing on their cameras because the guys who came to the house 2 hours after the supposedly kidnapping, they hiked down there. It was on foot. They probably parked on the highway somewhere, some like far away, like 3 or 4 miles away, and hiked over there so they wouldn't be seen. So you're not going to find anything on anybody's cameras other than what you found. Now it's back to Annie's house, and let's go. Let's go. That's where the case is at. Well, at least I think the concentration and focus should be on Annie and her husband, because they were the last ones to see her live, and that's where it's at.
Martha. So yes, this was kind of ground zero for the Catalina foothills, and they went north, meaning they're just kind of checking the road. You see sometimes they go in the brush, but for the most part, this appears to be kind of an effort to check out the pathways in and out of Nancy Guthrie's home in this area and where they might lead, just to kind of give them some more push. It's interesting you talked about the video, Martha, because when you look at the video in the totality, everybody's kind of focusing on, yes, the mask, and you have the gloves, and you have the backpack and the gun and so on and so forth. But what's interesting, if you look close, is you'll notice down on the steps of the front porch, I can't see any blood drops at all, which means if that's the case, that this, the FBI was telling us this happened in the morning. We know that 2:12 timeline, 12 minutes after 2, the cameras captured something, right? And if it was this something, like the FBI believes that there was this person, it kind of narrows that window, because remember at 2:28, her pacemaker, Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker, clicked off. So they believe that's at the point where she was out of range of the pacemaker. That narrows that window to 18 minutes to whatever happened and to the time she left. It gives them a better idea of the timeline of this whole thing. I'm also fascinated, Martha, by the search warrant. I mean, they had to get a federal search warrant to go after this person last night that they detained for a short time. I'm curious to find out what was in it, because as the legal experts we talked to, a federal judge is not, all that apt to give a search warrant just on eyebrows. They need something. They need some pinging, some cell phone evidence that might lead them in that direction. So it might be interesting to hear about that as well. And remember, Kash Patel said persons of interest on Fox News last night. Persons. We are looking to find out who the other person or persons that they are focusing on might be.
Yeah, it's a great point. Jonathan, we don't know whether or not there was, and we don't see obviously what happens after the individual pulls the camera off of the door frame area, but we have never learned whether or not there.
So they pretty much have figured out that this is a group of people they're up against, right? They have kind of come to that conclusion. That's why they're persons of interest. This is a full-on operation. This is a full-on operation. This was something that was planned for like 3 to 4, 5, maybe 4 months, maybe longer than that. and executed. Right now, the question is why were there blood drops at Nancy's house? There are blood drops there because it was they planted the blood there. Once again, OJ 101. Because remember, the blood drops were only on the porch. They were not on the dirt. They were not in the driveway. They were not in the house. They was in one specific place. OJ case 101. Right? The plan to put the blood there so that they can lead the police to that area, which is a deflection. The ransom notes, right? The ransom notes was, once again, a deflection. See, the sheriff knows. The sheriff knows. See, the sheriff knows everything because he was the first to ask, what time did you drop off Nancy? And he said, unverified, but verified through the garage door opener. Come on, man. He knows that has to be, that is right there in their face. If they can't figure that out, they're dumb. How do you know how the garage door opens and then the garage door closes? Okay, that no video evidence, no eyewitnesses seeing Nancy go in and out that house because she was never there. So therefore, the sheriff would have had to know that as well, right? So he's protecting Annie and her husband right now. He's protecting the Guthries because he knows, I'm sure, he knows that's where the case is. He has to know that.
There was a breaking and entry in this case, which seems very significant, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, Martha. And if you look at Nancy Guthrie's door now, for instance, it doesn't look as though that door is damaged in any way.
Nope.
So it may be that that person removed the doorbell camera and then moved around the back to some other entrance to the house. And we know there are sliding doors at the back. We've seen a blue back door on another part of the house as well. And I just want to talk about the timeline there. That appears to be the doorbell camera we're looking at. That is not the 2:12 moment when another camera caught something else. That is we believe, the 1:47 a.m. moment. And we know that because that is when the doorbell camera disconnected. So the last possible pictures it could have caught were 1:47 a.m. and then it was 41 minutes later, 2:28, that Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker disconnected from her phone. And one other note of caution here as we go forward on the Annie Guthrie video that we've just seen. Now, we didn't see any badges or any guns on those two people who went into the house and brought those two bags out. So I just want to put in a note of caution here. They may well have been agents investigating this, but we also know that the Guthrie family has hired private security, and it is possible that these were simply members of that private security detail who had been asked to go back to Annie Guthrie's house, perhaps bring some of her items or some of Tommaso, her husband's items. So we don't know at this point. We're working to find out, of course, and we'll let you know as soon as we do, Martha.
Yeah, all very good points, Jonathan. Thank you for bringing those up as we work on the timeline and as we work on who's coming in and out of that house. But it's, it's interesting, Jonathan, just quickly. So there's no cordon around Annie Guthrie's home, even though we know that investigators have at some points been in and out of that home. I guess anyone can walk up to that front door. I mean, it's possible these guys are working with them and have that authority, but anyone can come in and out of that house, apparently.
Yeah, and we had a very bizarre moment yesterday, for instance, Martha, exactly to that point. A pizza delivery person showed up and went right to that front door. Turns out those pizzas were being delivered to a blogger who was outside the house. That prompted the Pima County Sheriff's Department right here to put out a press release saying quite literally, we can't believe we have to say this, but please don't deliver food to a crime scene. Now, and of course, if that is a crime scene, then why not tape it off? One other point on that home, Martha, that I think is important to note as we go forward here. We know that Annie is with Savannah and their brother Cameron at a home here in Tucson. We have not heard anything about the whereabouts of Annie's husband, Tommaso. I just want to mention that. Doesn't necessarily mean anything, but I think it's worth mentioning.
Okay. Jonathan, thank you very much. Paul and Trace, thank you both. Great information from everybody. And we'll be standing by. If you get more, we'll come right back to you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch. Here now with more on the new video obtained by TMZ, along with another new letter sent to the outlet. TMZ's Harvey Levin is with us. There's not a day, Harvey, that goes by that TMZ and you are not actively involved in this. I've known you for a long time. Let's start with this third email, this third letter you got. What can you tell us about it and shed some light on it?
Well, before I get into this letter, I will tell you that the ransom letter, Sean, that we got days ago, the FBI is keenly interested in it. I'm not going to go into detail, but that letter is feeling like there is something there. The FBI is extremely interested in that letter. As for what we got, this is the third letter we received from a man who says he knows where the kidnapper is. The first two letters, he demanded $50,000. When the reward changed, he had a change of heart. So he sent us a letter at about noon today Pacific time. And he does not trust the FBI to give him the $100,000 reward. He said, essentially, I don't trust them. They don't trust me. So I'm going to deal with TMZ as the intermediary. So he wants the 100 grand, but he wants it his way. Here's the way he wants it. A fraction of a Bitcoin worth $50,000. He wants put in the account, this Bitcoin account. We have the link on that. And he says, when he gets that money deposited, he will immediately provide. Now, Sean, I think this is really important. The name of the main individual, along with his information for you to track. I think it's interesting. He said main individual. By definition, he is saying that there are others involved. He goes on to say he will not touch the payment until an arrest is made. And at that point, he will rely on the good faith of the FBI to deposit the remaining $50,000. Couple more things. He says that he is gambling with his safety, and the quote is his possible freedom, which makes me feel like he thinks that authorities may try and implicate him in this kidnapping. So he says, and I'm going to quote from the actual letter we got. He says that the manhunt of the main individual that can give you all the answers, be prepared to go international. To me, that can only mean Mexico. So we forward that on to the authorities. They are interested in this. So this is the.
So that tells you right there. That tells you right there that this is a $32 billion machine they're coming up against. Pharmaceutical companies. This is a hitman for hire case. So these people hire, these guys got a lot of money. They hire these professionals to come in and shut Nancy down because she was building a case, get the paperwork, reporting their fraudulent activities to the FBI, etc. So they brought in these people who are professional hitmen. That's why the guy in the camera had the gun on him, right? These people come in and take people out. So you heard the third letter say they got to prepare. He said, I want 50,000. And then I want another. That first 50,000 is for him, the guy who's giving this information out. He has to go into hiding. He knows he has to hide from these people because these people are very powerful. So he said, I need 50,000 to lay low. And then upon the capture, he needs another 50 bands. But he understands that if he takes this, if he gives them the culprits, This third letter guy says, I have to go into hiding because these people are very powerful. This goes all the way to the top of the pharmaceutical companies, right? These people they stole $32 billion. They would do anything to protect their money. So yeah, this is not just some random people who just take it. No, this is big. Let's listen to what they say. Let's listen to it again. This is the third letter. This is the third letter they received, and this one is from a man, right? This is for an individual, right, who's trying to, point them in the right direction.
Hunt of the main individual that can give you all the answers. Be prepared to go international. To me, that can only mean Mexico. So we forward that on to the authorities. They are interested in this. So this is the third letter. So far, no money has been deposited in that account. It perplexes me a little. He says that the manhunt of the main individual that can give you all the answers. Be prepared to go international. To me, that can only mean Mexico. So kidnapping. So he says, and I'm going to quote from the actual letter we got, until an arrest is made, and at that point he will rely on the good faith of the FBI to deposit the remaining $50,000. Couple more things. He says that he is gambling with his safety, and the quote is his.
So he's gambling with his safety. What's up, No Chaser? Hit the like button on the way in the door. He's gambling with his safety, meaning this is like a mobster. These people are very powerful. These people can have other people come and take you out. So the third letter that they got, the guy is telling them if he gives them the information, he has to go into police protective custody. What's up, Savage Entertainment? So we got here on a gentleman. Rufus has cracked the motherfucking case yesterday. We have here on this particular situation, this is a $32 billion machine. That's what the FBI is coming up against. These people have a lot of money, and this guy's willing to give up the guys, but he understands that he has to go into hiding. Let's listen to what the guy. Let's listen to some more. Let's go back a little bit more, and let's listen.
It's interesting. He said main individual. By definition, he is saying that there are others involved. He goes on to say he will not touch the payment until an arrest is made, and at that point, he will rely on the good faith of the FBI to deposit the remaining $50,000. Couple more things. He says that he is gambling with his safety, and the quote is his possible freedom, which makes me feel like he thinks that authorities may try and implicate him in this kidnapping. So he says, and I'm going to quote from the actual letter we got. He says that the manhunt of the main individual that can give you all the answers. Be prepared to go international. To me, that can only mean Mexico. So we forward that on to the authorities. They are interested in this. So this is the third letter. So far, no money has been deposited in that account. It perplexes me a little bit, but no money has been deposited, but they are looking at this and they are interested.
It perplexes me a lot. If he really cared about the safety of Nancy Guthrie and he wanted anonymity, he could just throw that tip out there who the person is. I understand he said yesterday, you said on this program yesterday, that he feels that he will be viewed as a rat and that he would need the money for his own safety and security.
Yeah, and I guess I hear you, but really that is the whole premise behind any reward, that the idea is you've got to incentivize people with money for them to come forward and do the right thing. So that really is kind of the predicate for any reward. He wants to do it his way.
Well, the scary part, though, is he may be committing a crime in the process. And we'll talk to Greg Jarrett about that. let's talk about this other video. It seems odd to me. This is now the second video that you have put out of crimes in the area involving people at around the time or days surrounding this likely abduction here. I don't know what to make of it. How do you interpret it?
Well, it's a guy who's skulking around a house a couple of miles away from Nancy Guthrie's. It was shot 8 days before she was abducted. Authorities are aware of it. They're looking into it. So, look, I can't tell you. I mean, this may have nothing to do with it, but they're asking for videos. So we're doing our searching and sending on whatever we see. So I know they're looking at that. So there are really one or two ways of looking at this case. Either this is somebody who has been robbing houses in the neighborhood and this was a robbery gone wrong, or Nancy Guthrie was targeted. The robbery part is hard for me to grasp, and I'll tell you why. When you look at the video of the man at Nancy Guthrie's door, he does not look like a professional robber to me. I mean, he is kind of bumbling around. He doesn't even think about the camera on the door. He has to go pick up a shrub to cover it. He has the gun in the middle of his waist, above the crotch. And that's not the way people carry guns. You know more about guns than I do, but it's not the way people carry them. And it just doesn't feel like this is a robber who's going around the neighborhood. This just my senses, and I don't know it, but my sense is this is much more of a targeted thing. And these other videos may yield nothing.
Oh, but you're also dealing with an 84-year-old woman who's not in the best of health. And if it was about a robbery,
she's done. Annie is gone. They would never see Annie again. But he got it right. This is that they went there to the house to plant evidence. The house was just a bait, like a bait, and the police took the bait. And then they've been there for like 12, 13 days while they've been there trying to figure things out. Another crime is happening somewhere else. They're getting rid of the body, disposing of the body, etc. So we're talking all this time wasted in one place, in one crime scene, when there was no crime that happened there, because Annie and her husband never dropped Nancy off there. They never took Nancy there. Nancy was never, after January 31st, Nancy never seen that house again. She was taken from Annie's house to wherever these people were, and that was last. The case is at Annie's house. And that's the bottom line. That's where it's at. And then that third letter, where we just listened, that was a guy telling you he probably knows that this is an organizational thing. And he said, be prepared to go international. So international implicates that these people have a very long reach in America and across the border. Could be even Europe. Could be, you know what I'm saying? International could be anywhere, right? So these people have a lot of money, a lot of power. They're stealing all this money, $32 billion. They're pretty well protected. So yeah, this is something that's going to require some help from an inside source that's involved with them. And you're going to have to offer them some sort of immunity. There's just no way you're going to be able to convict him and get the information. There's just no way. So yeah, this is a big case, man. This is not a kidnapping case. This is a murder case. Murder for hire. That's what this is.
I doubt you would take the homeowner out of the home with blood leading, down the path out the door, and not take anything else that we know of in the house. But they did add that we found DNA. Joining us now with more on all of today's developments, the host of Crime Stories on Fox 1, our friend Nancy Grace is back with us. All right, we have a bomb squad, SWAT team, mobile command center. We remember the last time that Mobile Command Center was out there. That person was detained that night, and we went to bed hopeful that they might have broken open this case.
Yes, Carlos Palazuelos was detained that night, and we had hoped that would lead to finding Nancy Guthrie. It did not. Significant. This is only the second time during the Guthrie investigation that SWAT, Bomb Squad, Mobile Command has moved out. They have been gone for hours. They're near the Marana area. It's nestled between two sets of mountains, between the Santa Catalina Mountains and the Tortolita Mountains. It's right down in there in the valley. No word from them, which means they're still deployed the same way they were the other night when Palazuelos was focused upon. And remember, he was focused upon, we believe, because his cell phone kept showing up in Nancy Guthrie's area. He delivered to her neighborhood. Interesting what Harvey Levin said about his team, searching the backpack, searching the jacket. Everybody's doing that. He's been very successful at that. We did the same. And we also found the ski mask. A similar ski mask is also sold at Walmart. So Walmart appears to be kidnap central. Now, I want to address that video. I've looked at it very carefully, unblurred. That occurred, I believe, January 23, in the early morning hours around the same time Nancy Guthrie was kidnapped. Why is this guy on a porch near her neighborhood around the same time fiddling with the door cam? Ringing a bell? Now, again, that guy is not named a person of interest or a suspect, but it brings up the specter that Nancy's kidnapping is random, that some guy's going along trying to find women, elderly, somebody living alone and getting into their home. I agree with you, Sean. Not the case in Guthrie's kidnapping. Another thing, the pool cleaners came out to Nancy Guthrie's home, and apparently they let them clean the pool. I'm all for cleaning pools, but this is a crime scene. Stop. Stop allowing people on to the scene. Haven't we learned anything tonight? Two significant things in my mind. I have used DNA in many, many trials. We've got to focus on the DNA and the gray truck. While we're waiting to hear what Mobile Command is doing, that's tenterhooks, waiting to hear that. But regarding the DNA, I'm very concerned. The DNA was sent to a private lab. Pima has had a long-standing contract with that lab, so they just did the easy thing and sent it to the lab. It's DNA Labs International in Florida. Now, the problem with DNA Labs International is they are a traditional lab focusing on STR. What is that? Short tandem repeat DNA. This DNA, which is stranger DNA, they've confirmed that. It's not Nancy Guthrie's DNA. It's nobody in her family or anybody close to her. It's stranger DNA. We're going to have mixed DNA. If DNA was on those gloves at all, he touched something, mixing it with other DNA. You have to have a specialist like Quantico that can identify, extract, separate that DNA. All we need, and I mentioned this last night, is one hair. Whether it's nucleus, a root, or not, we can use mitochondrial. But you've got to have the right lab. And the problem with international labs is that this particular lab international is that they consume the DNA when they do the testing. This is a very complicated process. And if this DNA is mixed, as I suspect it will be, then the DNA will be consumed. That's a problem. Now, here's the other thing regarding the vehicle. Why do I care so much about the gray truck? Why do I keep talking about the gray truck? I'll tell you why. Wayne Williams, that's why. His victims were covered in fibers, carpet fibers, hair, you name it. It traced all back to Wayne Williams' home, where he lived with his parents, and his car, a burgundy sedan owned by the family. Nancy Guthrie's blood will be in that vehicle. I'm sure you've heard of a homicide unit, a burglary unit, a special victims unit. There are car theft units. Cars change make, model every year to kind of encourage repurchasing. They can identify the make, model, and year of this car. They can get the right picture, Sean. And once they get that, you compare to license and registration, and you find who in that area has that car. That's their best bet. It's old school. I know it. But between that and DNA, we got a chance.
I think we have a chance. I just want to, I was watching Jonathan Hunt's interview with the local sheriff, and I've spoken to many FBI sources that I have, and they would adamantly contradict what the sheriff is saying in terms of cooperation between the federal agency and with local law enforcement. They're saying just the opposite, although I'm also being told, please don't play that up. So for a number of days on this program, we were discussing it privately. I was honoring their wishes. Now it's out in the public, so I'm not going to hold back, but that is being directly contradicted by the FBI.
There is no doubt in my mind that the sheriff, the Pima sheriff, did not want the feds involved. He resisted. And what's really disturbing me, I look at everything as, is it evidence? Is it probative? What can I prove? What do I have? If it's not probative, I don't care about it. That original search of the home, of Nancy Guthrie's home, was done by the local sheriffs. That bothers me. I would want the FBI in there. Look, I've been a Fed and I've been a state prosecutor, felonies only. I welcomed the feds. They had more resources. They had more experience than local prosecutors and local law enforcement. That's their job. That was a grave error, but it's been done now, and we've got to move forward. There's no doubt in my mind. The other day, the Sheriff Nanos, he says, hey, the glove, it may not even be related. Well, it may not, but guess what? It may. So take it seriously and give it all you've got.
Yeah. I mean, as every day passes, it gets more nerve-wracking, especially considering the health of 84-year-old.
Well, health, she's done. You better believe she's gone. She's out of there. But the police, the sheriff, he definitely don't want the feds there. Of course not, because of course he wants to protect Annie. He's protected Annie and her husband. Yeah, and she doesn't, and by him protecting them is keeping the feds out of it. So maybe the sheriff might be part of why this investigation is going south instead of north. But that third letter is going to bring more clarity to this case. That this is a very big case, bigger than what it started, right? Because the reason why the case was big in the beginning, because Savannah works for U.S. or Today's. She's a news anchor, very popular, very famous. And this is her mother. But now it's taken on another level, right? That first it was just seemed like it might have been some dudes who kidnapped and wanted some money. But then as we peel back the layers, we're starting to see that Nancy may have been involved in something big that she was exposing people. You know, she's trying to expose something or bring something to light that could cost her life, and it did. Especially when you're talking about the pharmaceutical company, right? They're trained out of industry, and people is embezzling and stealing $32 billion worth of, and you're putting them on blast. They're going to come get you. They're going to come get you. So this has turned out to be a murder for hire. And it's a conspiracy involving not only outside entities, but also the Guthries, right? The Guthries are also a part of this conspiracy. in my estimated opinion. So we'll see if that third letter going to bring some. That third letter going to be a beast, man. Because they said the third letter was like, well, hey, his safety, he just can't come out because then he knows that his safety will be in jeopardy, meaning these people have a lot of power. So, I'm going to end the stream. Thank you for coming. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new. Rufus is out.